Drake has developed quite the sordid reputation over the years, and it's not because of any illegal dealings on their part, but more because of their tendency to cater to a certain type of clientele. After having lost their military bid, Drake decided to try and sell their line of multi-role, cost-effective ships to the civilian market, and they ended up making a killing in the process. They since made it a common practice to sell stripped-down vessels that skimp on armor, amenities, and any safety features, but excel at having an unusually large amount of firepower for its size, and selling it off at a fraction of the cost of what its competitors were charging for their ships. Drake's most noteworthy success was the Cutlass Black, which became the ship of choice for the jack-of-all-trades who's on a budget, but also became quickly the favorite of marauders and pirates throughout the verse. Drake's profits may have soared, but their public image took a huge hit once reports started coming out that nearly 2/3 of all pirate-related activity involved one of their ships. But despite their declining reputation, they ended up having another landslide success with the Caterpillar. At first it was scoffed at by the general populace during its initial debut at the 2871 Intergalactic Expo, but over time public opinion swayed like a pendulum back into their favor. This was because the Caterpillar allowed smaller competitors to be able to keep up with the more expensive transports that are being produced by Misk and Crusader. The Caterpillar cuts a lot of its overhead, which keeps its price down while still being able to reliably carry just as much as any of the other heavy cargo haulers, which in turn made it the preferred ship for smaller organizations and startup companies. En masse, these smaller companies far outnumbered the amount of larger shipping conglomerates, which translated into a lot of profit for Drake. Many people have accused Drake with empowering small militias with the ability to cheaply turn their meager fleet into a highly successful pirate organization. And since Drake started rolling out their lineup of vessels, the number of pirate groups within the Stanton, Pyro, and Magnus system have over tripled in number. In response to these statistics, Drake attempted to repair their fractured reputation by creating a series of first responder and law enforcement vessels, which entailed taking their most popular ship's basic chassis, which was the Cutlass Black, and repurposing it for a more specific role. When first Drake announced their lineup of police vessels, the roars of laughter could be heard all the way from Terra to Odin, and they stopped laughing after the first line of newly crafted Cutlass Blues came off the assembly line. They were inexpensive and effective at what they did, and once again their clientele seemed to approve of the Drake tendency to trade safety features and amenities for more guns and faster engines. Nowadays you'll find that any self-respecting police force will have at least one Cutlass Blue accompanying their patrol ships to keep any cornered vessels from using their QT drives to escape. It's also become a favorite amongst bounty hunters who like to min-max their efforts by collecting as many bounties as they can before making a drop-off at their local advocacy office or automated prison facility. Not a lot of ships have the ability to give a pilot that inflated sense of authority that comes from flying a law enforcement vessel. Previously, I only got that from stealing a police car in GTA. Then I turn on the sirens and watch the other cars swerve off the road to avoid me as I tore in and out of both lanes of traffic. This same feeling hit me after I initially sat in the pilot seat of the Cutlass Blue. Leaving the hangar made me immediately feel like a cop that was rolling out on the streets for the first time, and I had an overwhelming urge to turn those lights on and pull over the first ship that I came across. The Blue is the last ship in the Cutlass series to be released, and unlike the Cutlass Black that's focused on versatility and the Red, which is the Star Citizen equivalent of a space ambulance, the Cutlass Blue has been purpose-built for police work and bounty hunting. The hull of the ship is nearly the same basic chassis design as the Black and the Red. It has the same landing gear, the same VTOL-styled engines, and the same overall body shape. The main physical difference between the Blue and the rest of the Cutties is its very distinctive-looking rounded canopy. It provides a strut-free view of the surrounding area and has the best pilot visibility that you're going to get out of any of the other Cutlasses. And quite frankly, after you've flown it, it's hard to go back to the Black or the Red. It also has the classic red and blue flashing lights that you'd expect from a police ship. It mainly functions to add to the experience by providing a bit of atmosphere for you to roleplay with. But functionally speaking, it can make the Blue very noticeable. Which, like with the Red, sometimes with this ship, you're going to want to stand out. The flight deck is a near carbon copy of what you'd find in the Cutlass Black. It has the classic dual pilot co-pilot seating arrangement, it has weapon racks mounted onto the walls, lockers for the crew, lots of external storage compartments, and 2 bunks. This is also where the entrance to the turret is located. The Blue's turret is just like the one that's found in the Cutlass Black. It's forward mounted, which allows the gunner to get a good view of whatever the pilot's targeting so that the ship can take a more aggressive stance in combat. So unlike with the Red, which has a toilet instead of a turret, there's going to be no bathroom options for the Blue, at least not by default. So make sure to remember to take care of business before you head out, or go hunt down a ship that has some kind of facilities on board. But never, never forget the official Drake motto that's sung in bars throughout the UEE, which is when you fly Drake, the world is your toilet. The main body of the ship that's sandwiched between the cargo grid and the flight deck is where you'll find the airlocks, the quantum dampening device, and the prisoner containment pods. The two airlocks are going to be the most convenient way for you to enter the ship from if you're either docked with a station or attempting to EVA your way back on board. The final version of the prisoner containment pods are a lot different looking than the ones that they showed during the concept phase of the project, and I gotta say that I am pleasantly surprised by what I'm looking at. Instead of being standalone cylinders, they now resemble something that you'd see in a futuristic dry cleaners. The pods hang from the ceiling, and it looks like you can use a display at their feet to cycle through them like shirts on an automated rack. They're also extremely thin, and each pod takes up a fraction of the amount of space that the old ones did, allowing for the ship to now carry up to 12 of them in total, which to me was another very unexpected bonus. The quantum dampening device is mounted onto the ceiling of this room, but I'll get into that in more detail in a second. The rear portion of the ship ends in a sectioned off area that's just like what you'd find in the Cutlass Red. The doors can be closed to seal this area off from the main body of the vessel, making it easier for a team to get out quickly without having to decompress the rest of the ship. You can also use this space to store cargo, contraband, or any other items that you find while hunting criminals. And if you're planetside, then this ramp is going to be the main way that you'll be entering the ship from. The Blue can hold a total of 12 SCUs worth of cargo. It could also be used to transport a small vehicle like the Grey Cat, a Gravlev bike, or even a Cyclone. You should take note that the Cyclone barely fits to the point where the driver is not going to be able to exit the vehicle once it's on board. This isn't very good for solo piloting, but you can make it work if you have another person who's with you. The Blue can't transport something as big as a rover, and most likely is going to be too small to accommodate for any of the G12 vehicles, but it will be able to carry a Ranger or anything from the X1 series. The Blue can travel at a cruising speed of 1,210 meters per second, making it the fastest Cutlass within the Drake lineup. It's also noticeably more nimble and responsive feeling than the other Cutlasses. For weapons, it comes by default with 4 size 2 gimbaled weapons which are controlled by the pilot, 2 of which are ballistic Gatlings and the other 2 are distortion repeaters. The 2 gimbaled size 2 weapons can be swapped out for 4 fixed size 3 guns, and the dorsal turret has 2 size 3 repeaters mounted onto it. It also comes with the largest amount of missiles among any of the other Cutties, having a total of 24 size 2 CS missiles. The Blue comes with a fully integrated quantum dampening device which can be used to prevent a target from using their quantum drive to escape. Just a word of warning when using the Blue's QDD. You can power it up without any issues, at least for now, but be careful because if you turn it on while you're within monitored space, they'll levy a rather hefty fine against you, and if you rack up to 3 fines you'll automatically get a crime stat. I'm sure that this mechanic will eventually be altered to fit the changing needs for bounty hunting gameplay, but for now, just be aware of this. Unfortunately, there's several bits of controversy that are associated with the Blue, starting with whether or not the rear-facing tractor beam has been removed. Just for the sake of future-proofing, there was no clear indication that it was in fact being removed at the time I made this video. And if any information comes out after the fact, I'll make sure to pin that info into the comments section. But since the promo for the Blue mentioned nothing about it and the devs have been suspiciously quiet about the whole thing, it's more likely than not that they've decided to remove this feature from the ship. The Matrix still lists the Blue as having a tractor beam, but that information is so outdated that it can't be considered to be reliable at this point. I personally hope that it remains because I was planning on using it to tow a criminal ship back with me after I've captured them. I know if you had 2 people you could have the other person fly the commandeered ship for you, but having the tractor beam as an option would cover you regardless if you're in a group or when you're hunting alone. Another little bit of controversy is that the Blue was originally supposed to have upgraded armor, but on that same note it's faster than the other Cutlass models, so that's a good indicator that it either has a lot more powerful engines or more likely this was another option that got dumped. The Cutty build notes for 3.10 indicates that the Blue does have some damage reducing capabilities, which means that it has armor but doesn't specify exactly what kind of armor it comes with. And lastly, back when I first pledged for the Cutlass Blue, they were using a completely different system for differentiating between component sizes. And back then the Blue had a shield generator that was a size larger than what any of the other Cutlasses were capable of carrying. I think because of that, a lot of people were expecting the Blue to have 2 medium-sized shields instead of a higher quality shield component. And I know that a lot of people feel like the ship had lost its edge with regards to its defensive capabilities. I was really hoping on this ship being the best protected among the Cutlasses, and I was also really looking forward to all the antics I was going to pull off using a rear-mounted tractor beam. But on the upside, I love the canopy view and the unexpected speed and maneuverability bump that it got over the other Cutlasses. I also like how it can carry more missiles than any of the other Cutties can, and that they increase the amount of prisoners that it can carry. And the QDD was something that nearly everybody wanted this ship to have, but was afraid to get their hopes up that it would end up being equipped with one. When it comes down to it, putting an extra shield would mean that the power plant would also have to be upgraded, and because of the physicalized component system, they might not have had the room to add 2 more medium-sized components into the ship. So instead of going for bigger shields and heavier armor, they instead went in the direction of making it faster and more nimble. Then on top of it, they further compensated for this change by giving the ship a QDD device and a lot more missiles. so I can understand why and how they went in the direction that they did with this ship. The only action that I don't agree with is removing the tractor beam if they are in fact planning on going through with removing it. So in the end, there were a few disappointments with this ship and a lot of unexpected surprises that also came along with it. But regardless of how you feel about these changes, the Cutlass Blue is still going to be your best option when it comes to bounty hunting. It's definitely an upgrade from the Avenger Stalker and the Hawk in regards to its prisoner containment, armaments, and defense. I've been your host, Law of the West. Thanks for watching, and take care.